And so I am going live here on this summer. This is the first of many actually, and I'm glad that you're with me if you are with me. This is a grand experiment. So here's the thing. Here's why I'm going live on these Thursday mornings. First of all, I'm Steve Thomason. I'm an artist, a pastor, and a professor of spiritual formation at Luther Seminary. And as a professor of spiritual formation, one of the things that really interests me is the digital age and faith formation in a digital age and all that digital media affords us in a different way of connecting with people. And so part of what I like to do is experiment and try new things. And so live streaming is one of those platforms that we can use to try to just to connect with people. And so I have my online presence, my online ministry. I call it the Art Pastor because I'm an artist and a pastor. And one of the things that I want to do this summer is explore some big themes. And so my theme for June is the art of prayer. So every week throughout the month of June, I know June isn't quite here yet. June starts on Saturday, so this is like a precursor to it. Um, every week, I'm going to go live and I'm going to do a couple of things. I just want to play and I want to play with some ideas. I want to play with um, some big concepts and I want to experience some things together with you. And so I'm talking about the art of prayer, and I am the art pastor. And so I thought today I want to dwell in this word art. What is the meaning of art? And so if you are online with me, I invite you to let me know that you're there. You can drop I can see the chat. And so I'd love to interact with you. If you have any comments or questions along the way, please let me know. And I can interact with you. I can respond to your questions. I can see how you're doing. Maybe we can create something fun together. And yeah, and I'm also experimenting. So if I ever get this blink lights, deer in the headlights look in my eyes, it's because what I'm actually looking at in front of me is my monitor, where I have all of these controls and devices in front of me. And and what you are seeing is actually slightly delayed from what I'm doing. And so I get a little thrown off sometimes. Jessica Coons is on the YouTubes. Hello from Colorado. Hello, Jessica. I'm so glad that you're joining me this morning. Um, that's awesome. So, um, yeah, I was one of the things I was actually let me just check something. One of the things I was checking is whether or not I was hearing myself echoing back, and it's because I had the YouTube open with sound on, and I was hearing the delay, and it was really distracting. But I think I'm back now, and so I want to just check a couple technical things. Um, I'm gonna put some music on and see if you can hear the music. And let's see, can I hear the music? Yeah, okay, I can hear the music and I'm not hearing myself. So that's pretty cool. And so at some point, I'm going to turn that music off again because we're going to come back to the music in just a second. So let me just give you a little tour of where we're going. And I'm also live on Instagram. I don't have anybody with me live on Instagram, but that's all right because that's a new thing and I'm still learning that. Um, all right, let me get myself set here so I can see your chats. That's awesome. Jessica's with me. And I've got a few people on with me live. So that's very cool. Okay. Yeah. All right. I think I'm getting it. All right. So here's the lay of the land here. What I've got is I've got one camera that is on my Cintiq. So I work on a Wacom Cintiq, which is my digital tablet display. And we're going to be making some art today. And I invite you to make art with me if you want to, because that'd be super fun. And these live streams are going to be a combination of a couple of different things. On the one hand, my brain is the fusion of art and theology. And I think visually, I think through pictures. I have to like mind map my way through ideas. And so that's I just want to bring you into real time in these live streams. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to create some art around the big question. And this week we're going to talk about what is the meaning of art. And so I will ask you a question and prompt you to think about it while I start drawing something on, I'm working in Photoshop. Now, if you want to break out some art materials for yourself, so this is going to be equal parts theological reflection, where I will be doing some talking about the concept, and just contemplative art, where I'm going to be using the art making process or the image making process as part of my contemplative practice. And so when we think about what is the meaning of art, I invite you to think about that question for a minute. And so what I'm going to do is get rid of this image. And what I've got open here is a square file in Photoshop, just a blank Photoshop document with a white background. And I'm going to start sketching, and I invite you to start sketching as well as we think through this concept. So let me ask this question again. And now I'm going to turn the music on because I think the music kind of helps us get into more of a contemplative space. And if the music is distracting to you, please let me know in the comments and I can turn it down. So I'm using one of my favorite brushes. It's called, Kyle Webster is this great artist who's created a whole bunch of brushes for Photoshop and for Procreate. And I'm using Kyle's animator pencil because I just love the way that it feels. And so the first thing that I want to do is just, I'm going to start super rough. And so in the first half of this live stream, I'm just going to do the rough sketch of the piece that I'm going to create. And now this is primarily going to be a conceptual word art piece. So like I'm not going to be drawing a subject or anything like a tree or a person. I'm just going to be doodling around with words and shapes and ideas. And so if you have access to the comments and you feel like commenting, I invite you to answer the question. Like, what is the meaning of art? The word art, the subject of art. All right, so that is, so I got that. I'm gonna just dwelling in the word, and then I'm gonna write the question. What is the meaning? See, when I put pressure, the cool thing about these styluses is that they're pressure sensitive. What is the meaning of art? Now you see how that went a little bit wider than the word art. I'm going to take my lasso tool, yeehaw, and I'm just going to size that down so that it lines up with the boundaries of the word art. Okay, so what is the meaning of art? Choose my brush again, and maybe I'll just put like a question mark over here. I'm wondering what you think. Okay, so that's my rough sketch of the word art. Let me just darken it in a little bit. Yeah, that's kind of fun. I just love drawing on this tablet and drawing in Photoshop. And if you're an iPad user, the equivalent of this would be drawing in Procreate. And Procreate and Photoshop play nicely together, so you can actually port your images back and forth. Okay, so what is the meaning of art? Now, I invite you throughout this month, if you go to artpastor.com, towards about halfway down the page, you'll see the art of prayer. So I've created a landing page for this whole month called the Art of Prayer. And at the bottom of that page is going to be the posts that I put all throughout the month. And I just posted something yesterday around this same topic. What is the meaning of art? And so I did some Bible study on it, some theological research. And so first of all, when I looked up the word art itself, I usually, when I'm thinking about a subject or, a topic, I usually start with the word itself and do some word nerdery around it. And so let me, actually, I'm going to switch my headphone around because I got it on backwards. And I'm going to make this layer a little bit transparent. And then I'm going to come up here and I'm going to tell you what I learned. When I looked up the word art, the English word art comes from the old French word art. Imagine that. But that old French word comes from the Latin word artem. And I want to make sure I get that right. I'm going the word nerd. Yeah. So looking at my notes here, and it really comes from the Latin word artem. Yep. And here's what that Latin word means. It means practical skill, a business or a craft. And that word, that Latin word, is connected to the Greek word, the words arti and artisan, which means to prepare or to fit together. And here's what I found so interesting about, word nerdery. Yeah, thanks, Jessica. I love that word too. So when the word art itself means skill, right? And so that I just found that so fascinating. So I'm going to write the word skill here, and I want you to think about that for a minute. Because when you thought of the word art at first, you most likely thought of like a picture or a drawing or a painting hanging on a wall with a nice frame. Maybe you're in a gallery. I'm going to make this skill just a little bit sharper, like it's got a little bit more edge to it. And that's a correct understanding of the word. In our English language, in our culture, when you say art, and when I say art, I do mean, making a work of art. Like for me, I'm a visual artist, so therefore I love to draw. I draw all the time. I love to paint. I paint in oils. I paint in gouache. I paint digitally. Right? And yeah, that's art. But technically, the word art means skill. Jessica said, yeah, art is beauty, a different way of communicating, direct to the soul. Yeah, absolutely. And what's so fascinating about that, Jessica, is that when we think about art, we think about the images that are made by a craftsperson, right? An artist, a person who paints things, draws things, sculpts things, a person who does dance. And we call that art. But in reality, the word itself means skill. And so what we really mean is that when we see a beautiful image, like I'm creating this image, when we see an image, it is actually the art of drawing, the art of painting, the art of creating an image, the art of dance, because the word art simply means skill. So you can have the art of prayer. And that's really what I want to get at this month when I'm thinking about prayer. And so I want to play with both meanings of the term art. But now there is a deeper meaning. When I was looking through scripture and studying this topic, there is a Hebrew word that means skill. And let me draw that word for you. So let me bring the opacity down on this. Let me draw this word for you in Hebrew, okay? My Hebrew colleagues are going to either be very proud of me or shudder at the fact that I'm drawing in Hebrew. So the Hebrew word is chokhmah. All right. And again, and this is super sketchy. I'm going to tighten this up later. Chokhmah. Okay. And the first place that we see the word chokhmah is in the book of Exodus, where during the giving of the law, when God gives Moses the instructions for the tabernacle, and you can look it up, the verse is Exodus chapter 28, verse 3. And God says to Moses, "And you shall speak to all who have ability, whom I have endowed with chokhmah, skill, that they make Aaron's vestments to consecrate him for my priesthood." So it's the first time we read it. And the first chokhmah people, the first people with skill, the first artists were people who designed the vestments for the high priest. So they're fashion designers, which is pretty cool. Now, here's the cool thing about the word chokhmah. If you do a word study and look up chokhmah throughout most of the Hebrew Bible, what you find is it means something very different than skill, or it's a very different word. And the word is wisdom. Actually, let me make a new layer here so that I can get it centered. So I'm going to make a new layer underneath the Hebrew version of it. And the word is wisdom. Let me make this like that. Wisdom. Think about that. Wisdom is chokhmah, and chokhmah can be translated as skill. So those people who were commissioned to create the first vestments of the high priest were wise in the ways of fashion design, if you will, of creating vestments. Let me spread this out just a little bit. There we go. All right. I just want to pull this underneath here. And I've got this Hebrew word right here. So I want to put chokhmah inside of the word wisdom. Let me bring up that opacity. Let me bring up the skill opacity. Bring up the art opacity. What is the meaning of art? Skill, wisdom. So the art of something is the skill of something and is the wisdom of something. Now, I think that's pretty cool. And so when I talk about the art of prayer, or I talk about the art of whatever it is, when I talk about being the art pastor, what I'm really talking about is wisdom. And wisdom is really learning the skill of living a life according to the ways of God. Now, I'm a disciple of Jesus. And so, what I want to do is I want to learn how to live as a disciple. I want to live the way Jesus taught me how to live, as I learned through the Gospels and through the Scripture. And so that is the art of discipleship. That's going to be my theme for August, is the art of discipleship. So this month, as I look at the art of prayer, I want to become wise in prayer. I want to learn the skill of how to talk to God. And that's what I'm going to be talking about all month. But let me just also tie this together with my art of drawing, painting, animation. I have this little saying that I came up with a long time ago, and I'm just going to write it down here and see if it makes sense to you. Nerdery, disciple, student, word nerdery, disciple, student. Yes, absolutely. Jessica, the word disciple means learner or apprentice or student. Absolutely. So in August, I'm going to dive deep into the art of discipleship and what it means to be a student of Jesus, my teacher. So, but as a visual artist, here is this little saying. For me, drawing is seeing. Seeing is understanding. And understanding is the beginning of, you guessed it, wisdom. See, when you submit yourself to the art or the discipline or the skill of drawing something, especially if you are a representational artist like me and you want to draw what you're looking at and make it look like what you're looking at, then that requires you to slow down. It requires you to really see the subject that you're studying. And especially when I'm doing plein air art or drawing like a human figure in real time, real space, or drawing a landscape, I have to become fully present with the subject that I am drawing. And by really seeing it and listening to it and experiencing it, I begin to understand it more fully. And then when I try to do the work of translating it into what I'm drawing, my canvas or my paper, or whatever, then I learn the skill of understanding that thing. And again, remember, the skill, that's wisdom. So anyway, that's kind of cool. So here, that's the first half of what I want to do today, and I hope you've enjoyed that. And now what I want to do is there are different parts of your brain, like the talking, thinking, communicating verbally is one part of your brain, and it's hard for me to draw and do that at the same time. I did a little sketching, but what I want to do now is, if you're interested, I'm going to stop talking and start drawing. And so I'm going to take this sketch right here and I'm going to hopefully turn it into something beautiful. I'm going to turn the music up. Oh, Laura, you just asked me a great question on YouTube. I am drawing in Photoshop. Yeah, I'm drawing in Photoshop on a Wacom Cintiq 16. And yeah, so thanks for asking. Now, as I go into the mode of drawing, don't be shy. You can still drop messages in the chat and I'll check in. I'll look up periodically. But what I want to do now is just, I'll just if I'm talking, I'll just be talking about what I'm doing as I turn this into a piece of word art. So here we go. Let me turn up the music a little bit for you, because the music helps me get in the zone. All right. Okay. So I got a playlist of just some peaceful acoustic guitar going on. And yeah, so let's see what we can do. So I grouped all those together, and so I can pull down the opacity all together. Stick with this brush because it can get pretty dark. I just switched to an eraser. If you hit E, you can switch to your eraser, which is nice. It's also a cool feature. You can flip this over and use it like an eraser, but I actually find it a little easier just to type the letter E. Okay, so now here's a cool trick. I've got this word skill nicely inked around, so I'm just going to drag it down and duplicate that, and now I can use my paint bucket, and I'm going to choose an orange and just fill in and so because I have that on a separate layer, I can actually I still have the lines, and then I have the color layer underneath it. So that's pretty cool. So now I've got this skill, and I'm going to group these together and name that group skill. So now I can make the skill disappear altogether. I need to name that sketch. So I took I took a pen and I upped the smoothing feature of it, which lets you make really nice, clean, smooth lines so you don't get the hand tremble. Yeah, that's cool. But you have to stop and let the pen catch up with you. Otherwise it does some kind of weird things. So just, if you go too fast, you'll get ahead of it because it's smoothing behind you. So that's kind of cool. All right, so I've got my art. Let me duplicate that again. And I'm gonna choose, oops. Whoa! I have an open path there, obviously. So I need to go back to my brush. I think it's right here. Yep. Cool. So I'll group these together. Call that art. So now I have skill and art together, and I'm gonna ink the wisdom piece. Probably use that same brush. Nice. Okay. Let me duplicate that layer. And I'm gonna make I'm gonna start with like a light blue. See how that looks. Let's group these. Make this wisdom. And I think I'm going to actually no, let me just make a oops. Use this Belgian comic. I like to letter with this. I'm going to zoom in just a little bit. And let's go to black. Just make these bold. What is meaning? Just emphasize that a little bit more. See, I just lightened up the pressure a little bit. What is the meaning of art? Skill, wisdom. And so now I'm going to go ahead and just now the really fun is going to begin. I'm going to start painting. And one of my favorite brushes is this watercolor brush. So I've got blues and oranges, and so I think, let's see, I'm down here. What would happen if I begin with kind of an orange-ish background? Isn't that neat? I just love that texture. It just has that watercolor edge to it. Yeah. And then I make my brush smaller and just come in underneath and just do some shading under there. That's kind of cool. And one of the things I like about just doing this more contemplative art is I don't exactly know where it's going to end up, you know. It's the exciting part of live art and the contemplative practice of just, and look at me, I'm using the word art as if art means images. Remember, art doesn't mean pretty pictures. Art means skill, it means wisdom. And so I need to retrain myself to say, I'm not making art. I am practicing the art of image making, visual communication. It's kind of cool. All right, now let me show you some. This is going to be Photoshop magic, right? And when you come here, I'm going to make a layer, and if I create a clipping mask, I can do some cool stuff. I've got a organic. Let's just play with some textures. Let me choose this color. I'm just going to go a little lighter. So I'm just going to start creating texture, which is pretty cool. Way more interesting than what I had before, right? Increase the chroma in the middle there. Yeah, cool. Now, another little trick. is if I make another layer and do clipping mask and then set it to multiply, then I can take my watercolor brush, and when you choose multiply, one of the things it does is it darkens, and so I can just like drop some shadows under there. Bob and Katie had a problem with my water. Oh, hey Bob, you're here, excellent. And Laura said, recently I've cultivated an interest in animation. I'd like to be able to preach the gospel through animation like you do. Please, what do you suggest I learn? Oh, well, Laura, if you, here, let me turn my music down just a little bit. I hope Laura's still there because I'm not sure when you asked that question, but I would suggest, first of all, if you're an iPad user, Procreate Dreams is a great animation software. It's brand new and it's only $20 and you can do anything on it. It's really amazing. But then also, one of the best animators out there on YouTube to learn from is an artist named Aaron Blaise. You could go to The Art of Aaron Blaise or to creatureartteacher.com, and he has animation tutorials. He's a great teacher, and I've learned a ton from him over the years, and that's one place. And then there's another place to learn online called Proko.com, Proko. Proko. It's Stan Propakenko. That's why he goes by Proko. It's hard to say his name. Propapenko. I can't say his name. Propapenko. Prokopenko. That's what I think it is. Prokopenko. And he has a whole school, has a whole art school that you can do. And some of the stuff he offers is free, and he's always got some cool stuff. So that's pretty cool, right? Look at this. The art, just by the magic of Photoshop, was able to turn the word art into something way more interesting. And I know we're running out of time. I'm never going to go more than an hour on these live streams. So in the last few minutes, let me just do a little bit more with, sometimes I have to, my brush disconnects, I have to reconnect it. So that's art, boom. Okay. Now I want to do something with wisdom in a totally different vibe. And so again, I'm going to create a clipping mask. And I want to choose an airbrush, and I want to start doing some swirling. When I think of wisdom, I think of the Holy Spirit. And so I just want to do some swirls. But let me turn the music back up because I think I'm going to get back in the zone here. I just want to put a little bit of light watercolor texture in this over the top of those swirls. I don't know, when I think of wisdom, the scripture tells us that wisdom was with God at the creation, and that it was actually through wisdom that God created all things. And so, and wisdom in the book of Proverbs is shown as a female, this very feminine spirit of creativity. And the wisdom of God is the skill of God for creation and of giving life. And just think of water, air, just all the aspects of the spirit. I attach with wisdom, which I think is pretty cool. And just real quick on skill, I think I want to try something different and try a texture of this texture. Just give it just a little spatter texture. I don't know, just having a little texture makes it so much more interesting. Okay, I'm gonna just do one more thing to wisdom. Oh, undo all of that. That didn't work. Okay, underneath wisdom, I'm going to add oh, you know what I forgot to do? I forgot to put Hokmah in there. So let me see what happens if I just gonna add a layer. Use my oh, you know what? If I do this, if I make this an overlay, let's do it as a hard light. Just adjust it like, oh. All right. You know what? I think I'm going to call that good. And oh, thanks, Laura. I'm so glad you joined me today. Hey, let me turn down my music. Well, everybody, thanks for joining me. For those of you who stuck with me throughout the live stream, I so appreciate it. Every Thursday, next Thursday morning, I will be 11 o'clock next week. I'm going to be looking at prayer as intimacy with God. And I'm going to be doing some art around our relationship with God as an intimate relationship between a parent and a child. And I'm going to do some art around that. So I hope that you found this to be helpful. Subscribe to the YouTube channel at Steve Thomason. You can go to artpastor.com. Subscribe to the blog so that you can find out all the posts. I'm going to be posting about the art of prayer all month. And I invite you to join me anytime you want. And it's super fun to hang out with you today, create this piece of art. I'll be posting this art online in just in a little while. So, all right. Thanks for joining me, everybody. Peace out. See you next